This week's is none other than a bite out of one of the greatest teachers ever, our favorite teacher, Mr. Paul Chek. This video is called Balancing the Only Two Forces That Exist. And this is from the Know Thyself podcast, which came out a couple weeks ago. It's a huge podcast. Congratulations to Paul. And it was one of his best interviews ever. Like YouTube comments on that video, people are freaking mind are blown.
Yeah.
Like they've never heard of Paul Chek or seen Paul Chek.
Like
his demographics, I think, a little bit younger than what his audience maybe
Know
is.
Thyself's demographic is a little younger than...
And so they're getting, some exposure to the Paul Chek wizardry.
Yeah.
And their freaking tits are blown off, dude.
All right, let's tune in.
There's only two forces that create everything in the universe, and if they're out of balance, your universe is out of balance, and you need to balance those two forces or you will not have any good results no matter how fancy your program or your supplements look. I came across a myth one time, and this is the myth of the dragon. The Taoists don't use the word God, but they do use the word the dragon. The dragon has a favorite hobby. It loves to breathe universes into existence. And every time it breathes a new universe into existence, it is made of two baby dragons, a black one called Yin and a white one called Yang. And the dragon looks at its little babies in this new universe and says, the two of you can rest from managing your universe when you can get along. Balance those two dragons, because when they're not getting along, you're not getting along either.
One of the many reasons I love Paul Chek is he has the ability to make really complex topics and spiritual concepts quite simple. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't get much simpler than balancing the forces of yin and yang. Basically, your outward expression of, expending energy and your acquiring of energy and rest and relaxation. And you and I are no stranger to having these forces out of balance at different times in our life. And it's not that having them out of balance for a time is necessarily bad, but when they're out of balance chronically and unconsciously, that's when you're going to run into major, major problems, probably for most of us and most of the people listening to this, in the form of some kind of burnout. And so just a beautiful reminder to make sure that you are really doing your best to pay attention to how much energy you're expending and how much energy, what are the things that you're doing that fill you up, that fill your cup. Simple examples like being in nature without your phone, going on a nature walk, stillness, meditation. Yeah. For us, painting is huge. Like, we get lost in art therapy for hours at a time, and it's just very rejuvenating and centering for us. These are just some examples, but it's not like you're going to be perfect every single day or that you have to be, but just be aware.
It's been such a mystery for me. What does yin actually look like? Because Netflix and chill doesn't feel restful to me. Sitting around on the couch and not moving my body doesn't feel restful to me. One of the big learnings from Paul Chek is that he's got this idea called working in, where it's a host of physical movement patterns that are charging in nature. They don't exert energy as much as they build chi and build life force energy. And so that's been a really helpful modality. This is something like Tai Chi or Qigong, or his versions that are his own modifications, and How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy has a list of them for anybody who is interested.
Which is Paul Chek's book.
But I have a really freaking hard time with this because my mind is also in yang. And so it's easy for me to just, take a rest day and not work out. I've gotten to the point where I'm quite able to do that. But my mind is just go, go, go. And I'm constantly thinking, and I'm constantly producing, and I'm constantly giving it stimuli through emails and laptops and phones and stuff like that. And so, to use another Paul Chek analogy that's really helped with this idea, is that he knowing that my mind is a hamster wheel sometimes, he says, think of your mind like the ocean. and to be in yin is to create environments that allow your mind to be like a calm ocean of, glass, or maybe just a steady flow of waves. If you have too much stimuli or you're overthinking something, you're going to be creating like waves. That water is going to be very rough and stormy. And so almost using the metaphor of a body of water for the mind, to me, has been a little bit helpful to not only slow down physically, but to be aware of the things that I'm looking at, be aware of the environments that I'm putting myself in, such that the waves that are my mind's, frequency can actually get to a level of rest and calm. And yin it can take things in. It's empty. It's feminine. And I was even thinking like, I'm out for a walk last night and I had a few minutes to myself, and I'm usually like, putting headphones in and listening to a podcast, and it's the input, and then it prompts yang energy in my mind because I'm thinking about something. It's an active thought process. But when I was walking without anything in my ears or just kind of observing nature, I really felt an emptiness of mind. And even though I was having thoughts, they were organic thoughts. They were from a place that I couldn't tell you where they came from. And it felt actually a lot more energetically, emotionally restorative than to even just go for a walk and listen to a podcast, or even when we talk on walks that we take. And so, this is a fresh idea, but something that I've thought about in context to this little clip from Paul is just the extra emphasis and focus on yin of the mind and not just of the body, because I think I'm getting better on the body.
Yeah, those creative thoughts, the original thoughts, they feel very different than like to-do list thoughts and like worrisome anxiety, like, oh, what am I going to do about this or that? Like, they're just so different. It feels fun.
Thank you so much for listening.
If you enjoyed that, check out right over here for some more fun clips.
Oh, and you're going to want to subscribe.
Bye.